All right, looks like it is recording. Let me share my screen here. All right, well, welcome everybody. Sorry. Technical difficulties. There we go. All right, welcome everyone to the WMA weekly meeting for the week of October 13th. Today we're going to hear from our friends at CG Financial Services. Before that, we have a few announcements we're going to run through, and we are going to hear from our Spartan Journal News team. So not too many announcements tonight. First one we wanted to our Fidelity meeting that's actually going to be taking place next Thursday. So we do have a regular scheduled meeting next Tuesday with a different firm, but we are also going to be meeting on a Thursday next week. So everybody keep an eye out for that. We're going to have information going out later this week, but it's going to be a lot like our Tuesday meeting, same time, but this is the time we're going to hear from Fidelity. So our job board has also been updated. So currently there are 10 opportunities on there. 10 opportunities on there, whether they be internship or full-time. So you guys go check those out if you're still looking for opportunities. Next one we have here is our WMA team. So for anybody not familiar, what this is us. What we're aiming at is the networking, the student peer-to-peer networking part of the student orgs and the clubs that you guys look for when you join student orgs like WMA. So we're doing that tonight. E-board members sent out Zoom links to everybody who indicated that they wanted to be on a team. So you all should have a Zoom link in your inbox. So keep an eye out for those. For anybody who maybe doesn't have one or has decided they want to do it, new to WMA and still wants to do it, hang around after the call today and we'll make sure to get you in a Zoom call. So. And then, of course, follow us on social media at MSU WMA. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to our Vincent and our Spartan Journal News team.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin. So the story that I did this week is we're talking about new White House stimulus bill that's being currently developed and being talked through and negotiated. There's still a lot of back and forth going on right now, as you guys might know. People have been trying, or Congress has been trying to form a new deal for a while, but still nothing has been kind of set yet. So there's been a lot of back and forth negotiation. The White House is finally preparing a bill that's almost $2 trillion, and it's going to be a coronavirus relief bill that people, especially small businesses, are really looking forward to because it's provide aid for airlines, small businesses, and households. White House officials are planning to work into and throughout the weekend to ensure that this deal is reached. I was actually looking at an article today. They're still working through negotiations currently. So this is the longest proposal to date. So in the long run negotiations with congressional Democrats, Secretary Mnuchin has previously proposed a $1.6 trillion offer. And then the Democrats also passed a $2.2 trillion aid package last week, which is a scaled back version of a previously $3.5 trillion legislation. So for now, the deal is still in the works, but we'll see what is to come. So I'm going to pass it on to Jake.
Thanks, Vincent. So I did my story on the current job market and the foreseeable future of it. So economists don't expect the market to claw back until early 2023 as a result from coronavirus shutdowns. So this is slower than the timeline economists gave about 6 months ago, where they predicted 2022. So it's not looking too great, but hiring gains has slowed as more layoffs have turned permanent. The U.S. has nearly 11 million fewer jobs than it did in September than it did in February. And more than half of those are in the leisure and hospitality sector. Also, most economists in the survey of this Wall Street article said that the gross domestic product is noticeably faster than the job market as of right now. And they expect it to contract around 3.6% for the end of this year. And they expect the economy to grow 3.7% in early 2021 and around 3% in 2022. So yeah, this is not looking great for the job market right now. I know a lot of our seniors are currently in the job market looking for post university jobs. So hopefully something will happen in the next year and a half where the job market will be better. But as of right now, it's not looking too great. So now I'll pass it on to Oscar.
Hey everybody, I turned my camera off just because my connection's a little bad, so I'm hoping that will clear me up long enough to get through this. If you can't hear me at any point in time, let me know. So Justin, can you switch this slide, or it's still on the other story for me?
We see your slide right now.
Okay, well, I'll just go off the top then. So, yeah, my story was pretty interesting because, we're all trying to get into financial advising, wealth management, financial planning. There's a big industry shift going on right now. So post 2008, we heard about a lot of downsizing in the fixed income space. There was a lot of regulations being introduced into the market due to the financial collapse, and there was a lot of subpar revenue coming from those divisions within a lot of top firms.
Oh, did we lose Oscar? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he cut out.
Yeah, I think so too.
Uh-oh. All right. Well,
You want
maybe
me
we'll
to
give
cover
him
for
a
him?
minute. Oh, sorry.
You want me to cover for him?
Yeah. Well, you know what? We'll pass it on to you guys. Oscar, that's the beauty of being online, right? Is the tech issue. So hopefully he'll be back. But with that, we'll thank you guys from the Smart Journalists, and we want to pass it off to Jeff and Christian with CG Financial Services. So thanks for being here.
Appreciate it, guys. It was interesting kind of hearing some of those facts. I appreciate you guys sharing that information, doing some research on that. It's interesting and cool that you guys are doing that. I will say there's a ton of opportunity and jobs in the financial advisor space. We're lacking talent. So there's not a jobs issue here. We need people. So keep that in mind, and hopefully we're on your guys' job board already. But a little bit about CG Financial, and I'll give you a quick background on myself. So again, my name is Jeff Roman. I'm at CG Financial, is a firm here. Our headquarters in Hazlitt and Williamston here. I went to Central many years ago. I went through their CFP program actually, so I'm familiar with what you guys are doing and kind of the program and model that you're going through. And I think it's a great opportunity and a way to get through school and be ready to sit for that exam as soon as you're done and hit the ground running. I think that's an awesome opportunity for you guys. But I've been, I worked in the banking sector for, maybe 9 months out of college, and realized that was not what I was supposed to be doing and didn't know why I was there. But fortunately ran into some of the guys at CG Financial and connected with them. And I've been with them for going on 10 years as a financial advisor. So definitely a lucrative industry. Things are very fast paced, things are moving. Again, ton of opportunity, but a little bit of background on CG Financials. We've been around about 23-ish years, I think now. But we're a full service independent financial planning firm. And what I mean by that is, full service, we work with typically high net worth individuals doing family planning from A to Z, as you guys are kind of familiar with the curriculum that you're going through. It's financial profiles, understanding their statements, their cash flows, where things are at, debt analysis, to retirement planning, investment planning, risk management, and then taxes and estate strategies and planning as well. So we cover the whole gamut when it comes to individual wealth management. But we really specialize and work with a lot of business owners too, and businesses in general, with corporate benefit plans and insurance strategies and things like that, as well as a big piece of our operation. And then we actually also have a P&C arm where we do property and casualty, home and auto type insurances. So there's a lot of different avenues for advisors and operations and different types of careers through our organization. It's not necessarily just financial planning, and we'll cover some more of that too. But kind of what we do and how that process works, what we kind of coined is really holistic planning. So again, taking our clients from, an introduction and building a relationship. And I think that's really where our value add comes into play is it's not just investing someone's money. We're providing that holistic approach and providing advice on everything. So it's really like I look at it as a personal CFO, right? You're covering all the different bases there. And once you engage with the client, really what that looks like is, building that relationship, getting to know them on a personal level, providing just a very high level experience for them. And, it's going to take a handful of meetings to get to know somebody and really build their trust over time to get them to be, valuable clients that in turn start referring you other business down the road. And so that's it's not just get the money, it's you're meeting with them, getting to know them, you're talking about all those different areas and trying to understand their concerns, understand their expectations and what they really need to accomplish what their goals are financially. And then you kind of go through a different series of meetings of, we might meet for an hour or two one day just on one section of our key areas. One day might just be insurance. So it really takes a lot of effort and time and resources to build out a full plan. And we've got a ton of different technology and tools and things that we use, which are obviously helpful and pretty fun to get into. But that's kind of the general process of how we would engage a client. And as they get through that planning, it goes into a service rotation after that and really managing those clients and maintaining it. And, goals change, life changes, people have kids, people get married, so it's a constant changing and evolving relationship. But again, it starts up front with building that relationship with them. And also, I guess from an industry perspective, we have our own RIA. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with kind of the different sides of the business. Where we're an IRA is more advice focused. We don't have our own products that we're trying to sell or push to anybody. Again, it starts with that relationship and providing advice from a fiduciary perspective. So being a CFP, as you guys go through that course and take that test and pass, you will realize that you will be considered a fiduciary to your clients, meaning you are not allowed to have any conflict of interest and you need to advise and help them make decisions in the best interest of their needs. So, typically we're working on a fee basis versus commissions. So whereas, the industry used to be where you sell a product and you get a commission on it, right? And then you don't really have any need to work with your client anymore. And that has evolved and changed. There's still some of that out there, but really you've seen the industry change over the last 10 years to be a lot more focused on the client providing advice. And, I think that's a big component where CG Financial, again, we're independent. So it starts with what their concerns are and their needs, and then we go out to the marketplace and find, okay, do we need to put together an investment portfolio? Are we looking for life insurance strategies? Are we, do we need to find an attorney to build up an estate policy? We're completely objective to what we're using to solve their problems, which is a huge benefit to not be, again, pushing a product or worried about commissions or things like that. So it's generally just going to be a flat fee that we would charge to work with the client in that aspect. From a career track standpoint, one of the things that we've set up is, we work in teams. So anytime that we're working with a client, I do not work with any client by myself. I'm generally not in any meetings by myself. So I will always have either, a junior advisor sitting in learning. We just brought in a couple new advisors, both from Michigan State, and their first day that afternoon, they were sitting in on new client meetings, after they figured out the HR paperwork and all that kind of stuff. But, that's definitely the approach from getting exposure and getting people trained is, it's not going to be a classroom curriculum. It's going to be, you're sitting in meetings, you're taking notes as if you were giving the meeting, and, you're getting direction after that meeting on next steps, what we're doing. And I think that's a big differentiator too, as far as the path that you would take, just getting that hands-on experience versus, being an intern and shredding paper or whatever it is. A lot of times people get thrown into doing. So, but typically, we want to see an intern. We'd love to have people out, at least a year, if not 2 years as an intern. I think is great to really just get exposure to the industry. And even as interns, we'd have them sit in meetings after they kind of get their feet under them and gain some perspective on what's going on. So that can be, again, that's learn everything from an operations standpoint, the technology to, answering the phones to everything. I mean, you get exposure, everything to understand the whole process and everything that goes into working with our clients. And then from there, typically you'd step up to what we would call an associate advisor. So once you hit that level, basically what we're doing there is you're definitely sitting in more meetings. You're starting to prepare cases. You're reviewing them with your advisor. You're potentially starting to present certain technology tools in client meetings, and especially getting licensed. And that's typically a 1 to 2 year process to go through that type of training. And the learning curve is very fast. I mean, again, as I mentioned, it's fast-paced industry on all aspects, whether it's the financial planning side or just finance in general. But you're definitely getting thrown into the ring, and you're going to learn a lot going through that process. And then from there, it gives you the perspective too to decide. As I mentioned, we have different lines of businesses, so you can kind of decide. Do I want to be an advisor? Do I want to be behind the scenes investment research management? Do I want to be insurance side of things with the home and auto type stuff? Do I want to be more of a support advisor? Do I want to be more on the tech side? So there's a lot of different, directions you can go after you get through those first 2 phases. And not everybody's going to be an advisor, right? It's not an easy job, and we joke about it as that's the front man and the lead singer of the band, right? You're out and working with the clients, you're in the front, you've got to put on the show basically and be good with people. And sometimes that's not necessarily for everybody. But I would say, even though that's the case, there's still a lot of great careers and opportunities within the other avenues that we would handle throughout that process with clients. If you do continue to go on that advisor track, basically that you transition into a lead advisor where you're starting to take on your own clients, potentially bringing in your own business. And that's one of the things I guess I would really focus on too is, we're not an organization that when you start, we're going to hand you a phone book and say, start cold calling, or, do your parents have money? Do they need life insurance, and start that's not how we market anymore. There's still firms that do that. We've really gone away from it. Again, as I mentioned, it's more of a talent issue that we have. We have the clients, we have the referral sources with the, accountants and CPAs and attorneys that we work with, and credit unions and banks that are basically sending us qualified leads that we don't have enough manpower to take on clients. So we really need, people to come in and go through that training and get to the point where they're a lead advisor, where they can start taking on clients of their own. And again, that lead advisor, anywhere from 1 year to 2 years in that phase before you move on to a senior advisor for probably another 2 to 3, potentially 5 years. Some people might stay there or you continue to move on as more of an executive partner level after that. So there's a lot of different phases to that, which again, you're getting the full exposure from day one, which I think is critical. Anybody can kind of be the book smart part of it but when you want to be an advisor, you've got to have the hands-on experience and get in front of clients and start that process. Anything you want to add to that, Christian?
Yeah. So, no, yeah, I mean, you did a good job. Thorough as always, knowing Jeff. So a little bit background on me, just so you guys know who I am. I went to Northwood University, which is a small Division II school in Midland, Michigan. If you don't know Midland, it's where Dow Chemical is headquartered. So anyway, a finance major. We actually at the time had an office in Midland. So long story short, that's how I got tied in with CG Financial. So I'm living proof here in this realm, to where I started as an intern with CG Financial, and now I've been here for over 10 years as one of the lead advisors. So, not to say that that's what you guys have to do when you come in on as an intern, but to Jeff's point, I think if you haven't already, or you're thinking about it and maybe on the fence, I would say an internship wherever it is. Obviously, we'd like to have as many as we can from this group, but wherever it is, it's going to be of the utmost importance, because it's going to provide obviously something to put on your resume, but I think you're going to get a lot of good experience and exposure to the industry, because it has evolved. Even in I don't want to speak for Jeff, but even in my time, the industry has evolved so much to where, remember, one of the questions, if I were in your guys' shoes, going out and interviewing, doing whatever you're doing, one of those important questions to ask, I think, is, is your firm, do you act as a fiduciary for your clients? I think it was Oscar, if I've got the name right, that he was starting to present on some of the industry legislation that has passed. a lot of that legislation is around this fiduciary standard. And again, I'm somewhat biased because we've always been on the fiduciary side of the fence, but I would argue that firms that aren't are really, really behind the times. They're either going to have to completely change the business model, or you're just going to see firms that get out of the business because they don't want to necessarily move to the fiduciary side. So I would make sure as you guys are going out there and interviewing, talking to folks, talking to employers, that would be one of my top questions to ask. Just to add on to what Jeff was saying, again, at least from our firm's perspective, there's a lot of different avenues that you can go if you do come on as an intern or as a full-time employee. Obviously tonight, at least from what I gathered, most of you want to pursue the advisor track, right? So getting your CFP, which myself, Jeff, a lot of all the other advisors really have their CFP credentials. But that being said, there's also other top opportunities in the industry as well as with CG that don't necessarily have to be client facing, right? So, we want to try to play to people's strengths. So I would say, definitely, if you're thinking about the advisor track and for somewhat, whatever reason it doesn't work out for you to where you don't really like it, or it's just not what you thought it was, don't get discouraged. I will tell you again, from our perspective, there's a lot of opportunity, either from a support perspective, an operations perspective, or some people even want to go the more technical route to where they're doing, more of what I'll call CFA work, right? Which is analysis, looking at portfolios, doing that type of work. So again, don't get discouraged if, down the road you end up saying, hey, this isn't what I thought it was. If you've got a passion for the finance industry, for this type of work, there are lots of opportunities outside of client facing, advisory role. I will say, and gentlemen, don't take offense to this, but for the females on the call, the industry is starving for you guys. There is so much opportunity out there for female advisors just because right now there's so few. And I think that's a demographic to where, if you can really establish yourself, work hard, be passionate about it, I think that any female on this call that is interested in getting, especially in the advisor role, really has a good opportunity. So nothing against the guys on the call. You guys are obviously going to be successful, but I would just point out for the females, this is definitely an industry that is really, has a yearning for you guys because, we just don't have many female advisors. From my perspective, just to add on to that, I would say, it's a very rewarding career. So, again, I'm biased because this is all I've done and this is the only company I've worked for. So, Jeff can have to some other occupations within the industry, but for me, it's very rewarding, right? Obviously, you're going to work hard, right? There's no doubt about it. You're going to put in the hours, you're going to put in the time, the blood, sweat, and tears, as they say. But if you're able to get through that and withstand the learning curve and, put in the effort up front, you'll find, at least from my perspective, that there really is no other career in my mind that where you can have the rewards you have both with, client relationships, being essentially a life coach for people, right? So you have the rewarding experience there. At the same time, make a really, really good living, right? Let's not kid ourselves. We're all in it to make money, right? If you're willing to work hard, put effort towards it, be passionate, have a heart. I mean, in terms of what I mean by that is to help people, right? If you're not willing to help people, and if that's not at the core of what you want to do in this industry, you might be successful, but your potential is really going to get capped. So if you have a heart to help people, you're willing to put in the work, your earning potential is really unlimited. And again, I know at the end of the day, it's all about money sometimes, or at least that's a big persuading factor. So this career really provides you the chance to have a lot of autonomy, right? Run your own practice, meet with your clients, but at the same time, knowing that you're helping with clients, be comfortable with the fact that you're also going to make a really good living from a income perspective. So yeah, I mean, again, just, I would keep your mind open in terms of opportunities out there. Like I said, we'd love to at least talk with you guys. If there's ever any interest, even if it's you want to come and shadow one of us for a day or two, we'd be certainly open to that. But obviously, we'd love to bring you on as interns, or, for those seniors in the virtual room here, if you're looking for a career opportunity, Just know that there's plenty of opportunities within our firm, not just in Michigan. So, I don't want to necessarily overpromise, but we do have offices in Charlotte, North Carolina, Richmond, Virginia, and we're constantly looking to expand and acquire other firms. So again, that's something that, down the road, potentially there's other opportunities outside of Michigan if anybody was thinking about that or, had that on their mind in terms of future plans. But again, very rewarding career. I think with us, as Jeff said, the differentiator is that we're holistic planners, independent. And then just from our organization, day one, you're really getting the experience. And what I mean by that is, as Jeff alluded to, sitting in on meetings. You're not just coming in here and you don't get a phone book handed to you. You're not filing papers. Doesn't mean that, filing isn't part of the internship. But, really you're getting, I think, a lot of experience that in other firms you wouldn't have otherwise. So again, can't really cover everything tonight. I mean, we could talk for hours, but hopefully this provides at least some good insight and maybe some, gets the wheels turning a little bit in terms of you guys and what your career and future plans are. So any questions for us? Unless, did you have anything else, Jeff, in terms of?
No, that's good.
Okay.
That's good.
Any questions for Jeff or myself?
Yeah, I had one for you guys. So I just want to kind of ask about how your business development structure works. So are you asking is it sort of like a top-down approach in that the more senior leadership is going out and trying to get new clients, or is it kind of the opposite where you're coming in as sort of a younger hire and you're, kind of looking for new clients?
It's a good question. Historically, I think I mentioned too, was, it used to be you kind of eat what you kill. It's you start, and if you make it, you make it, you go get what you get, and that's it, right? And it's really for our group has transitioned. And don't get me wrong, there may or may not be expectations depending on your role to bring in new business. And that's always a good thing to be able to have relationships out in the community or whatever to bring in new business. But, as I mentioned, for us, there is enough sources for us to, basically train in. And we have a lot of our like executives and seniors that have been in the business for 15, 20 years that have good relationships with accountants that we'd rather have them spending the time doing that to bring us more food, so to speak, for us to work with than have them spending FaceTime with meetings when, our junior advisors and our lead advisors and senior advisors can handle that part. So we kind of break it down as, whatever someone's good at, we really want to give them the resources and capacity to go do that piece of it and specialize in something like that. So, I wouldn't rule it out. I'd say there's a little bit of both, but, we don't expect you, within the first couple of years to be bringing in millions of dollars in business.
Yeah, I'll to add on to that, I would say, a little secret of our industry, your best marketing source is your existing clients, right? And if you think about that from a business perspective, right, think about just if you're the CFO, what's the cost of getting clients or referrals? Virtually nothing, right? Other than monetarily, right? Nothing. So, again, as Jeff said, it's, we don't really actively go out and pound the pavement. We're not knocking on doors. We've got people in the office that we would consider to be rainmakers, right? So they're going out and they're doing maybe more as a percentage of their time, more marketing. But we've got a big enough client base. We've got enough people that we can work with to where any other advisor that isn't primarily focused on marketing can continue to establish and build and re-engage clients in terms of relationship. And a lot of times what happens is referrals will come from those relationships because they have a good experience, right? It's all about the client experience. If they can really have that wow factor, then they're going to go tell their friends and family about it, and that's really our best marketing source.
For sure. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. What
Other
else?
Questions?
Yeah. So I know Jeff mentioned that there's a lack of talent in the finance sector right now. Is that more in the CFP role or more the technical supporting roles?
I see it more from the CFP advisor role. because that's what I'm in, and that's kind of what I see in the industry and focus on. So there's definitely, I mean, especially if you look at just the demographics, it is just there's a lot of older advisors, that either want to retire or need to retire, and as Christian kind of mentioned, might be on the older platforms where they're broker dealer based and they're commission based, and they're eventually just going to get out because they can't afford to transition their business to be more of on a fiduciary model. So, having that transition of people retiring and everything too is there's a ton of clients that will be available and are available. So I see it again. I think it's just the talent wise, there's just not enough people coming into the advisory business.
Okay, thank you.
I would agree.
You
You
guys
guys are awfully quiet.
Oh, no. I think it's the delay. I always never know how long to wait in the silence. But what you guys, we were talking about the CFP. Are there any other licenses that you guys look for at CG, and like what levels do you guys get those at?
Yeah, so typically, when we bring in an intern, once you get to that associate advisor, so it's basically the first step after an internship, we're going to have you get your Series 65, which would basically give you your securities license with an RIA. So we don't typically do a Series 7 or Series 6 anymore to do the brokerage business because it's just not really our business model. So 65 would be your license. And then also, credential wise, though, there's the CFP. Sometimes we'll have CHFC is another chartered financial consultant. A number of our advisors will have that designation, and then also the AIF, which is the accredited investment fiduciary. Those are really the three core ones that as an advisor, we're going to have someone get.
Yeah, the AIF is more towards the qualified plan space. So 401k, 403b, right? Employer retirement plans. That's really where that credential fits, because we do quite a pretty good share of that business, amount of that business. So
Justin, I think we had a question in the chat too. So just whenever you're finished with your questions.
Yeah, no, so it's a good follow-up I see in here. So what does the day-to-day look like for the investment research analyst? And I mean, like, and what kind of designations do you guys look like on that front? Is it the CFA or is there something else?
Yeah, yes. So we've got two. It's either the CFA or the CIMA, CIMA. And as far as day-to-day research on that, I guess I'd almost defer to them on that. But, I know some of it's not all just investment management. It's kind of, they wear a lot of hats because it is this kind of a smaller portion of our organization. So they also do like recruiting new advisors to come in and work for us. So maybe existing advisors that are broker dealer based or whatever, they are recruiting other advisors to latch on to our RIA. But really they design and build different portfolios. So, they're doing research and having conference calls with economists, with fund managers and different, wholesalers, so to speak, to kind of get their grasp on the economy and where they see the industry going, or the economy going, and then help kind of provide some insight on how we might structure portfolios based on certain risk profiles. And also narrow down. So, there's tens and thousands in mutual funds and exchange traded funds and stocks and bonds and things out there. And it's looking at the different types of investments that might be suitable and how do we position them within a strategy. And so then they can also come back to our advisors and coach us on that and kind of give us the explanation on here's kind of what's going on. Here's how we're allocating certain strategies. We're shifting more of our stock positions to international, or we're, moving commodities out of energy to gold, or whatever it may be. So, that's a lot of where our resources come from and ammunition when we're working with clients to have that knowledge as well. I don't know if I answered your question, to be honest, but
yeah, I think I have a follow-up to how big is that team? How big is your investment research team?
Oh man, there's there's a handful of people that I say are dedicated, like those CFA, those CIMAs. But again, from our firm's perspective, we also have an investment policy committee. So that's made up of those folks plus, mostly either partners or senior managers. Some, myself, Jeff, sit on those committees. But essentially, they get together, and where again, the investment people per se, the analysts per se, will run, the committees, pull together the information. But then the committee as a whole will meet every quarter to just really, again, from our perspective, go through our portfolios, go through our positions, really dig down a couple layers deep to say, are these still positions that we want? If yes, why? If no, why? We split those up into 3 subcommittees: equities, fixed income, and alternatives. So, again, there's probably 5 or 6 people on the actual, what I'll call, investment side, but then that committee is made up of 20 to 30 other people. And as Jeff said too, again, our firm, we have the RIA, right? So we're a registered investment advisor. So CG Financial is, let's say, 30 advisors. We also have 75 other advisors across the country that are independent from us, from CG, but plug into our RIA to leverage the investment, the back office side, so compliance, to run the portfolios, right? So it's really for those people to, and even for us, they help allow us to scale the business. So, I'm not in the portfolios every day making trades, right? The investment, the RIA people do that, right? So it allows me to meet with clients, go out and get new business, right? So, I mean, it's a crucial piece to what we do. But to answer that question, there's a handful of people that are really the true core investment people. That was a long answer.
No, thank you. I have another question here. So do you guys target like a specific client? So do you have like a specialty or a niche that you prefer to work with?
Yeah, and Jeff, you can add on to this. I mean, we don't really turn anybody away per se, but I would say we probably specialize in working with the small business and small business owners. Because again, if let's say they come in the door, we can really, soup to nuts, do everything they need us to do. Whether it's we need need your help running the actual business, and then, hey, I want to work with you on on the personal side. This is the business owner saying this, and then, hey, I also want you to run our retirement plan for the business, right? So I would say our, again, we don't really single a certain demographic or profile a certain client type, but I would say we really specialize in our niche. If we have one, it's probably that small business owner. Jeff, I don't know if you agree. Or...
Yeah. No, yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I feel like, with, when we have 30 advisors and another 75 outside advisors, I mean, I know that we do have some that, primarily work with university professors, right? So we've got an advisor lives in Ann Arbor. All he does is work with U of M professors. I mean, 90% of his business is from that. Some people really only work with dentists or doctors or something. So there is some of that within our practice, but as a whole, I agree with Christian, as it's generally somebody that has complex financial needs, and oftentimes our relationships are with the client, but it's also with their accountant. Maybe it's not an accountant that we normally work with, but we really want to play the quarterback in that role of working with their CPA on their business strategies and things and taxes that are going on there, or their estate, any attorneys, business agreements, contracts, selling their business, buying businesses. So any attorneys that they're working with, we need to be involved on a lot of that stuff. And we really try and put ourselves in the position of a quarterback to, glue all that stuff together.
Yeah.
I had another question for you guys, and this kind of is more directed towards like employee engagement that CG might do. So you guys do any like kind of team building stuff or anything along those lines?
Yeah, that's definitely something newer to the repertoire, I'd say. We as people progress through that career track, I mean, there's leadership coaching. So we actually have a leadership coach that comes in and works with, certain individuals to transition into more management roles, things like that. I don't know if you want to add to that, Christian. I'm not really sure if there's any other specifics.
I mean, as Jeff said, we're, if you look at the industry in general, we are tiny, right? We're small, right? We're what I would call a boutique firm. So, we've grown tremendously, I would say, over even the past 4 or 5 years in terms of, organizationally, a lot more bodies. So that's a great question. And obviously, we have thought about that. And I think, as Jeff said, we brought in things like a leadership coach, right? We do events throughout the year, whether it's something like, hey, let's have a office picnic, right? We'll schedule a time. Obviously, we have Christmas parties and things like that. And then, above and beyond that, I will tell you that the people that work in our firm hang out together outside of the firm, right? So, doesn't mean that we're requiring that or that you have to, because I get it, right? Personality, sometimes people don't mesh, which is fine. But a lot of times you'll find, at least with us in my experiences, we're not only coworkers, but many of us are friends outside of work. So yeah, we definitely do have formal kind of team building, mentorship type programs and initiatives, but also, we get to know each other on a personal level outside of work because the work's important, but it's not the only thing, right? So I mean, it's important to kind of have that balance.
Yeah, there's definitely, especially with COVID hitting and everybody within a week working from home all of a sudden, and not necessarily focusing on new client acquisitions. I mean, we put together, there was a lot of projects. So, I mean, I think that's a piece of it too, where you get exposure to different sides of what we do and work with different teams of people. So we collaborated a lot of different teams within the organization, and then had projects that were based on things while people were working from home. So, I mean, there's things like that that get put into play, and then teams change, right? So you get kind of positioned with different groups periodically too to work on different projects from a team aspect,
Sure.
anyways.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, I have like a two-part question. I guess so something I always like to ask is like what would you guys recommend college students who are thinking about going to the advising realm be reading right now and be doing to prepare for that? And then like the second part to that question is what can they do to get involved in CG's internship? So if somebody is interested in applying to CG, where would the best place be to start?
Yeah, sure, I'll take it. So I don't know, Justin, if you have contact information for myself and Jeff. But if not, we can certainly give that. I mean, we'll say our emails and contact information here on the call. But I would say from a starting an internship, or even if again you want to come in and shadow or just chat with one of us, feel free to reach out to myself or Jeff. That would be probably the easiest way. And you're gonna get direct contact. I mean, if you don't get us, leave a voicemail. We'll get back to you. I mean, it's something that again we want to get you guys some exposure. We want to get you guys involved. We want to educate you. So we're more than happy to talk with you.
I think we're on the job board too. Correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, but I think Suzanne usually posts something on there. And if
Yeah.
not, or maybe there's Handshake is another thing I think we're on. You guys know what that is? I don't. I just know that we're on it.
And if
Yeah.
you're not on ours right now, I'll make sure that you are by tomorrow. So
Okay.
Yep. In terms of, I think the other question was reading, right? Or what is that right?
yeah, yep,
Okay.
reading or anything we could be doing.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a number of great books out there, right? I mean, it really depends on from what context you're looking at. I mean, so myself, I like to listen to podcasts, right? So I don't know if anybody's into podcasts or, I mean, there's a number of great podcasts out there. So one of them that I've listened to that's kind of been eye-opening for me is called the Elite Advisor Blueprint. So this is basically this show the host brings in multiple advisors, just talk about the industry in general. There's a lot of good content out there about the virtual environment. Obviously, in light of what's going on, that's been a pretty big push. So podcasts, I would check. Encourage you to check those out. There's a lot of good podcasts out there. One other one is called the Agile Financial Planner. That's a guy, Roger Whitney. He's kind of big in the industry. But then, I mean, just again, what I found throughout my career, it's just important to stay informed. So at the beginning of this presentation here, this meeting, you guys did an update on like the stimulus package, right? I can tell you that it's very, very important to be in tune to what's going on. Doesn't mean you have to be an expert and know the ins and outs of every piece of news, but if you at least have an idea of what's going on, paying attention, you'd be surprised. Obviously, you get in a meeting with a client and they start asking you questions about, and even though it's kind of, you shouldn't bring it up, but politics come up, right? The market obviously comes up. So I would just say, make sure you guys are at least in tune to what's going on, are staying up to date on current events, because that more than anything, at least from my experience, will allow you to have a lot more in-depth and I think engaging dialogue with clients. And especially if you get in front of the more affluent and high net worth people like your doctors and engineers and those types of folks, if they can see and understand that you're in tune and not living under a rock and can have some intelligent conversation, that's going to put you ahead maybe to a lot of other people, especially if you start out in the industry and you're younger, right? Because I mean, most of the people that you're going to be meeting with or want to meet with are your parents' age or older, right? And they're looking at you like, who's this college grad coming in trying to give me advice, right? So I would just say it's important to keep up to date on current events, be knowledgeable, but also in terms of some other things, check out podcasts. There's a lot of different books out there. Think and Grow Rich is one of those books that's good. You guys have heard of The Millionaire Next Door. That's another good book. So, I mean, there's countless resources out there.
One thing I'd add to that too, I think that a benefit is, talking about kind of just the industry jargon and what's going on and so on. I think one of the biggest places where I learned the most on that, obviously, is staying up to date, but was sitting in meetings with senior advisors. Starting out fresh, being able to sit in there and listen to their conversations with their affluent clients was just like, wow, I'm pretty stupid. I don't know anything. But doing that enough times, you start to kind of get the gist of it, and you start learning more, and you understand how things operate economically and so on. And I think there's a huge value with just that hands-on experience piece of it.
Yeah. Another name I would add too that he's really popular, has a good website and good podcast is Michael Kitces, Kitces. Some of you probably heard of him, so he's a good resource too.
I think his is called the Financial Advisor Success Podcast.
Yeah, something like that. Yep. Cool. What else? Anything?
Yeah, just real quick, I posted both your guys' emails in the chat. So if anybody's interested in reaching out to either Jeff or Christian, it's in the chat.
Yeah, feel free. We're more than happy to have even a phone conversation or do another Zoom or Teams meeting if you individually want to do that. We're here as a resource to you guys.
Yeah, so backpacking off Justin's point about internships, for CG, do you guys offer more internships relating to an advisor role or more of the support role?
Both.
Both? Okay.
Both. I would say more commonly the advisor role. Yep.
Yeah, I think 1 in 5 people that go through it actually end up being an advisor. So I think a lot of people stick on, a lot of people take off, but again, the advisory role is not for everybody, but there is something for everybody within this area. So don't think that you've got to be an advisor to be an or have a career in this industry.
Yep.
Piggybacking off that, I know some people here might not necessarily be finance majors, or they might be like a sophomore. Would you guys be considering them for an internship, possibly?
Yeah. I think it's great to get someone that's in advertising or marketing or accounting or other majors. I think it really helps bring the whole financial planning piece together. So we definitely want different. It doesn't have to be a finance major at all.
You don't want a financial advisor putting together a marketing flyer.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure our CEO who founded our company was like a poli-sci major.
Yeah, he was. Yep.
Awesome. Does anybody else have any more questions? If not, thank you both, Christian and Jeff, so much for being here today. Like I said, or like Costa said, he put your information there in the chat, so anybody can reach out to you. Anything else you guys would like to maybe leave us with before we end?
No, I would say for myself, appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys. Hopefully this again gave you some good information, got the wheels turning a little bit. If you do have questions or want to chat, just let us know, and we wish all of you the best of luck.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Just remember, WMA Teams, look for your Zoom link. That's happening right after this meeting. So if you guys are interested in that, just stick around here if you don't have a Zoom link. So Thanks again, guys. Jeff and
Right.
Christian.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.